Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Rabil Stock Research. So I'm going to start out with a lesson today, and it's going to be on MACD. The interesting thing is that there are so many stocks right now that are exhibiting this one specific pattern. I just figured it was worth going through and giving you some ideas. Actually, it's some very attractive patterns straight from my report. I figured we'd go ahead and kill two birds with one stone and look at this pattern, study it pretty well, and then also give you some ideas. All right, once we do that, we'll look at the market and then we'll go through the symbol requests. Let's go ahead and get going. The MACD pattern we're discussing today is called reverse divergence, or at least that's what I call it in my book and my courses. Some people call it hidden divergence, and the reason is that it's the opposite of a standard divergence pattern. Standard divergence is market or stock is making a higher high, and MACD is making a lower high. All right, this is the reverse of that. This is where in Abbott Labs we make a low, we rally up, and we make a higher low. All right, this is actually more like a double bottom. All right, but the MACD is actually making a significantly lower low. All right, and so I like this pattern because it happens in most cases, it happens in the direction of the trend, whereas standard divergence happens counter to the trend. So it ends up being a really powerful tool, giving you another way to use MACD in your favor, especially when it's above the zero line. All right. Now, the first two here I'm giving aren't really example. Well, this is actually a pretty good example of an 80 where the ADX is strong during this pattern, and then it kind of dips down closer to the 25 area as we get the reverse divergence signal. The next one I'm going to show is AEM. Now, this can happen in an existing trend. When you're in a really powerful trend, oftentimes you will get these. Look at this little mini reverse divergence where it just pulls down. Now, it can happen anywhere from what I like most is when this pattern develops at the 18, this purple line, or the blue line here at the 40. If we get that happening at either one, it's typically pretty attractive. Now look at this one here at the end. We get another reverse divergence. This makes a lower low, and this makes a higher low, and we're in a power trend in this gold stock, and we get a pullback to the 18, and then we trigger to the upside. All right, so let's start looking at a few of the ones that are kind of breaking out right now. You can see the way this developed. This was on the report for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We've been looking at this reverse divergence pattern, and this has a low ADX condition associated with it. This is more typical in the way it plays out, where we get a strong move to the upside, and then during the correction phase, we get a low ADX condition to develop, showing the sellers are really not very strong. All right, so this is a good combination to be on the lookout for. Low ADX and a zero line reversal that is a reverse divergence. When you have all of that in your favor, your odds of having a decent trade pattern developing is usually pretty good. Now, we get a higher low here in CNO and a lower low here in the MACD. Again, a low ADX pattern developing on the ADX. Look at BROS. This is a very attractive pattern as well. Higher low in the price pattern, lower low right at the zero line with low ADX, and the bulls stayed in control throughout. See how red never really got above the green, never got above 25. So we know the buyers are still in command, and we get this reverse divergence, and it's kind of like a slingshot right at the zero line. Really attractive. Also, you can see this happen back here. Look at this reverse divergence right at the zero line, right before things kicked off on that one. Look at YMM, another higher low in price, lower low in MACD, low ADX pattern. We can look for this to form a higher low with maybe even a little handle that forms, or potentially breaking out of this area, but it's definitely a stock to keep on your watch list. Now, KMI is one that I've been watching because it has a very low ADX reading on the ADX and a very strong ADX reading on the monthly. But look at the way this is playing out. Look at this higher bottom here and lower bottom here right at the zero line. I mean, we're seeing a lot of these develop all at the same time. This is why I really kind of felt like it was worth going through. Here's another one in MWA. Keep making higher lows in price, and we keep, we made a lower low here. Clearly a pretty nice signal. Now I would be looking for a higher low to form right above the zero line. Notice how, or right above the 18 and the 40. Notice how we have a low ADX condition in place. ORI just broke out from this pattern. Look at this big, deep pullback that formed right at the zero line in the form of a reverse divergence, right? And then low ADX in place. So this is the combo we are on the lookout for. I'd probably be watching for a little pullback in this as a potential buying opportunity. Look at SATL. This is coiling here and not really pulling back. It's kind of working sideways with a high, making a higher low. Look at the zero line reversal. And this is a power trend. Strong reading, and it's staying above the 25 throughout. So either one of those, either a strong ADX reading that stays above 25 or a low ADX reading, are definitely worth watching for. Waystar Holding makes a higher, let's just look at this, higher low in price and a lower low right at the zero line with low ADX. All right, really interesting pattern developing here. You could draw a trend line on that and watch for a breakout. And then again, we get another one here. This is a little bit more difficult to see. It's squished down in the MACD, but you can see we are making about a double bottom in the MACD, and this is making a significantly higher low with low ADX. Still consider that a reverse divergence. So these are the types of patterns I'd be on the lookout for. I mean, there are others that are developing more in the form of a big breakout and they're pulling back. Stocks like SNPS or CDNS, I think, are stocks like that are worth watching for. But this pattern, this hidden divergence pattern, is certainly one that is pretty prevalent right now and certainly worth looking to play. If you're enjoying the content, hit that like button and also subscribe. So I'm on the services page of RabilStockResearch.com. At the top, you can see I've got my advanced trend and momentum courses. There's 3 different courses. You can get a discount if you buy them all as a bundle. They are lifetime access now, all right? And also, the individual package has about 3 to 4 reports that come each week, plus a special video for that package. And I also do a once a month webinar that is very popular with the subscribers. So you can take a look there. If you're interested in just getting started, you can go up to the top and hit the book. This will give you information on the book. It gets you started on the approach. Okay, let's run through the market conditions for the S&P. We're going to use the spider for the trend and the momentum here in a minute, but some key things taking place. So first of all, the majority of the trends and the momentum are okay, but we have this short-term problem developing on the daily momentum. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm going to show you what that is and why this is actually negative right now. All right, I'll get to those charts in a second. But what I wanted to show here is that we have this situation where we're not officially overbought. We've got this divergence in place on the RSI 5 on the weekly. So that puts us in the negative camp after being overbought. We also have a sentiment that has jumped now. We're back to 37% more bulls than bears. That's definitely a negative. We're in the risk camp on both of these. All right. So what does that mean? That means that we have the potential for a pullback. All right. Now, if all of this stuff is, majority of it is positive, including the volatility, then we're just thinking about this as a pullback and an ongoing trend, not necessarily a reversal. And that's kind of where I would put this right now, as some form of a correction taking place. Now, it could alter if the pullback is not right. This is what I've been telling my subscribers for weeks now. If this pullback is too strong and we raise the volatility and these start moving to this direction, then it's not going to be as attractive pattern and we might actually fail up here. So how it develops is pretty important. Right now, I'm sort of the assumption based on what's taking place in the trend and momentum that this is just going to pull back, cool off, throw some cold water on this sentiment right now, a little too bullish, and get this to kind of ease off and then work off the overbought condition as well. All right. So let's look at a few of these charts. First of all, you can see the average true range in black here is dropping on the weekly, and now the moving average is also dropping. When both of that are, when the average true range is below the moving average and it's dropping, that's a positive condition in place. We do have this short-term risk factor in place with this RSI. If we can get the RSI to drop down here to neutral without doing a lot of damage to the to the average true range, if it doesn't pop very much, then we probably have a pretty good buying opportunity on our hands. Same thing on the daily chart. The trend is up. The volatility has been down for a while. We've had a number of buy signals throughout this pullback. You can see where we got oversold, and we're doing it again. We have to give it credit, but it does look like we're losing some momentum. Let's go ahead and look at these 4 time frames. Momentum on this time frame and the ADX and the MACD look fine, really. We can see on the weekly chart what's taking place. At the ADX DI, positive DI, popped its head up to the 25 line, and now it is bumping its head, but it hasn't been able to break through, even though price has been moving higher. All right, but now what's scary is this red line is getting closer to taking out this prior peak. If we make a higher high here and form, if this is going to need to drop down a little bit more. If we get this to break out above this prior peak, then I think we're in a pretty precarious position, because I think there's a pretty high probability we're going to come down again and test 18-week and possibly even the 18-month line, which is also rising underneath. We could kind of work our way in between those or something like that. Just something to be on the lookout for. Reason why I'm bringing this up is that we have this situation where MACD really isn't telling us a whole lot, but the ADX showed strength here, confirmed this peak. Showed enough strength here and confirmed this peak, new high, right? Higher high. And then we pulled back and we've made another new high, but this time we were not able to get above the 25 line. So what that means to me is that this is a potential reversal pattern. We're trying to break the 18-day. We've broken it, but we didn't follow through. We're going to need to take out the low of this bar. If we do that, then this line will roll over and we'll have a confirmed reversal in place. We haven't been able to do that. You see, the last time this gap down, it worked its way right back up. It never took out the low of that bar. We need to get a little follow through on this. If that happens, especially with this ADX signal, we should be looking for a reversal. A reversal would mean that we're going to come down and test support and probably come down to again, between the 18-week and the 18-month. So that's kind of where I'm situated right now. What's happening on the hourly chart is that we're rallied up and we've got this bearish momentum in place. And we also are forming an RSI sell signal on the hourly if it can make a pivot high. If we make a pivot high here, I think that would be pretty important. Fill the gap and work our way back down through the close of yesterday. I think all of that would probably show that there's a pretty good chance that we're going to complete the rollover on the daily chart, and we're going to see a correction down to price support. Okay, let's switch over to the IWM. Let's take a quick look at this, and then we got a lot of symbol requests that came through. All right, so we can see what's going on. We are showing improvement on a relative basis versus the S&P, but not enough. We need to see this moving average line rise. We need more separation. I want to see a lot of strength coming out of this line. I also would like to see a confirmation of support, holding support, and turning back to the upside. I think that would be a pretty bullish sign if it can develop that way. I also would really like to see the confirmation in the relative strength. But overall, we are showing improvement here. Definitely have to give this a little bit more respect. All right, I wanted to bring up this copper chart. I thought this looked pretty interesting. Look at the big base that has formed. We've got gold and silver on a tear right now. And then we've got this low ADX pattern in place, and it's trying to break out on the copper chart. So I would be looking at my copper stocks and taking a hard look at those. That could be pretty interesting. All right, let's look at this Joby. We've got a few of these that I'm going to bring up another one of these stocks, and I think in this airline or aviation, whatever you want to call it. So you've got a massive breakout, but we flared out a little bit. You see how this flared out off the monthly with the big reversal bar with some volume. So it kind of tells me that we probably got a little bit of a problem up there. That doesn't mean we can't trade it. You can see what's happening. We're getting a pullback on the weekly chart with really strong momentum characteristics, but the volume does bother me a little bit. So the way I would have to play this is that I would have to get an entry, and the fact is that this is running through the zero line here, so I need a little bit of confirmation. I can't just buy it the moment it starts to show improvement. We're going to need to see some strength and then hold and then turns up. So if it does it that way, I'm going to probably use a tighter stop, knowing that I have to have a target that's probably somewhere Let me just give you a ballpark estimate, around 16, something like that, as a target area. So you'd have to be more of a trader, I think, in this situation. Now, if it were to play out this way and rally up and then come back down and turn back up, then I'm going to start to feel a lot better about this. But because of the way it flared out with the heavy volume, I think we got to give this a little bit of time. I also would keep this on my watch list because I think ultimately it is going up. All right, GLXY, very similar pattern, but not as much volatility in the play. Strong move up, and now we've consolidated back. We don't have much history here, but look at the way this is coming back on this time frame. This is this daily chart. This looks pretty good. Not a lot of strength in the sellers. There's enough overrun that we're going to need to form a higher low. We want to see a test of the 18. So what we're going to want to see it move up, come back down and test the 18 and turn up. And if it does that, then I would be considering playing this as a as a potential pattern. Look at Caterpillar. Caterpillar has shown a lot of strength off the low. It bounced off the 40-month moving average and has been pretty much just a big, strong move to new highs. Now it's going through the consolidation pattern we'd want to see. I think there should be support at this 1800 area, right around 400. Watch for this opposing trend pattern to develop, and I think if it does, I think this could be a really good stock to consider playing. Now, LYV already triggered. This was one that I was talking about with my subscribers because of how strong it was. It came down and formed this higher low and even another higher low here. We had a low ADX condition in place, strong ADX here. So I think this is already played out. We're going to need to see a pullback now closer to the 18 before it can be considered again. Not really a great entry at this point. ARKK. So look at the way this is developing. We have a big base. We've formed higher highs and higher lows. The trend has shifted back to the upside, and we're using the 18-month as support. Now we're getting a pullback to the 18-week. I think there's pretty good support at the weekly around 770, let's say. All right. Now the way this has played out, we've consolidated sideways, and we have a moving average, a MACD line that's working back closer to zero, and we don't have any real sellers in place. So I think the way I would play this is I would draw a trend line across these tops like this, and really kind of look for a break above these lines. All right, if we do that, then this is going to be a pretty good trigger, I think. That's what we'd be watching for. Now, I got a question on Google. The question was more related to potential target area. I think the target area is somewhere in the 240 to 250 range based on the way this has developed. So I think I would just keep trailing a stop here. I don't see, it really hasn't offered a great entry since this pullback here. Remember what I said earlier, what we look for is a cross above the 18 and then hold the 18. When that happens, that's really where we want to look to be a buyer. It hasn't done that since, but we've had very good follow through. The one thing I'll tell you is that this is the biggest bar in the move. We've been running up and away, and now this is the biggest bar. So I would be looking for some kind of an interim top to develop, probably sometime soon, and then we could make our way after that. We could see a target up towards the 245, 250 area. All right. Now, ARKK is a stock like this Joby Aviation. Again, kind of spike highs off this peak here in the mid-teens. So we formed this kind of a double top. Now, I don't know that I'd be looking to play the first move. I think I'd watch it come up, and then if it can form another higher low, then I think I'd be a lot more interested. I think we have to respect the fact that we've made a couple tops in here. Now, this is a very volatile stock, no doubt about it. But I also don't think, that I want to buy right into those big reversals there. So I'd be careful about that. Also, ALAB. Now, I really like the way this developed. Look at the volume here. Look at the momentum, which is still rising based on the ADX. And MACD hasn't even formed a pinch. It formed a little pinch in here, right around the 100 area. But now I think we're looking at a situation where this probably needs to come down and get the 18 and the 40 together here. And if we get that, then I think we're in a pretty strong position for another run. So watch this for a opposing trend pattern on the daily chart. I think if we can get that, then this is in a pretty attractive situation. All right, HMIS. So like I was talking about with Archer Aviation, I mean, look at the way this spike high, Another move here, we kind of spiked up again. I mean, there's definitely sellers up here in the 70 area. So I'm less inclined to want to buy after a big red bar like this. I think we've got some resistance to work through. So I let this come up and kind of push into this high and then fail and then come back. And if it can make a higher low, then I'd be a lot more interested because I think we're going to actually work our way through that. If this just keeps dropping, I just don't want to buy this with all that resistance up there and the signs of sellers in place. So just be careful from that standpoint. All right, RKLB, so pretty strong move to the upside, and now we're consolidating. The daily chart, we've already made it through earnings, so that's good, but we've got this consolidation taking place. I think I would be watching for this to come up through the 50 level at this point. The way it's developed, it's not really a low ADX breakout pattern, but the way this is situated, forming the pinch and getting itself going again, it looks like we've created a little bit of resistance here right around the 50 mark. I think if we can get through that, then this is in a much stronger position. Just keep in mind, we can only play this as a trade because look at how far this has already run on the monthly. We're up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row, something like that. So if we're going to play this, we've got to be a little bit more nimble, play it for a move from 50 to 60 or something like that. Use the average true range for those type of targets, but that's kind of how I'd handle this one. Thanks for watching today. If you have any stock requests, you can send them to stocktalk@stockcharts.com or just put them in the comment area below. Also, if you want to learn more about some of these techniques, you can go to my YouTube channel. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.